point, so it's cool. But today we got a really cool show, especially like I said, there's a lot going on about a man that talks about relationships. I think his name is Derek Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
And as somebody who likes to give relationship advice, who coaches people, and just kind of, post a lot about it, one of the things that stood out to me, and I want to know your thoughts about it, is what do you think of these people claiming perfection? Even if they're not claiming it verbally, maybe like looking
Imply.
like they're the part. Yeah, trying to look the part. Like, what are your thoughts on that? Do you have any reservations when you deal with people like that? Or is it more so like you take them at face value, chew the meat, spit out the bones type of thing?
Well, I mean, it's the age-old adage that people buy from who they like. You know what I'm saying? Me personally, I don't subscribe